Hello, everyone. Welcome back to True Self. I'm glad you guys are here. In the previous video, we talked about forgiveness and how important it is to release the old self, to forgive the old self, so that we can fully step into the new identity. Today, I want to talk about the next pillar in the series and one that's quite up there with forgiveness, and that is gratitude. So, as I talked about in the last episode, many of us come into manifestation because there is something we want to change about our lives. Maybe we want a relationship, financial freedom, maybe it's health, or it's just confidence, or simply just to get like a sense of peace. And then we find Neville Goddard and the law of assumption and all these incredible teachings, and naturally, we tend to focus more on our desires. But along the way, many of us develop this habit of focusing on what is missing. We kind of tend to focus on what we don't have and how we don't have our desires, how the desires seem so far away, and maybe it's the circumstances. The circumstances seem so wild and impossible that there's no way that we are getting our desire. So we tend to focus more on the lack of the desire. And before we kind of realize it, we are spending most of our time just thinking about what isn't there, like the absence, rather than what is actually present. So I think that's where gratitude comes into play. And I think it's one of the most powerful shifts we can make in our consciousness. So, one thing I noticed is that the problem is not that we want more, it's not that we have more desires. There's nothing wrong with having a desire. For example, like this, people used to say, you should never desire for more money. You should be satisfied with what you have. Yeah. And it's kind of ingrained into us that like if we want more, it's like we are being greedy. And I think that's another big limitation which society kind of puts on us. There's actually nothing wrong with having a desire. And desires are actually a gift from God. It's like when a desire comes upon you, it's like a notification that goes off, and it's like your higher self reminding you that, hey, look, this thing is available to you. There's a version of you that has this, and it's available to you. Just bring it into your awareness, accept it, and yeah, just be aware that you have it, and then you will receive it. It will be reflected in your 3D. So yeah, so again, the problem is not wanting more or having desires. It's more that we forget about what we already have. When we constantly focus on what is missing, we are occupying a state of lack. So, so basically, the law of assumption is is all about the state we occupy, and the state we occupy constantly, the state we return to most of the time, the dominant state that gets reflected back to us. So when we occupy a state of abundance, then our 3D or like the outside world reflects that back to us. And when we are constantly thinking about, the things we don't have, how things are going wrong, how, we don't have money, or we don't have this or that, whatever it is, the more we focus on the lack of our desire, the lack of the things we don't have, that gets reflected back to us. So, and gratitude is one way to kind of instantly shift you from that state of lack to a state of having, you know. So most of us kind of forget to be thankful and grateful for like the small things in our lives, like, you know, just the small things like being able to just breathe, to be able to just walk around, to see, to hear, um, to have food, you know, to be able to eat food and buy food and to get some sleep, to have a place to sleep and having friends and family. There are like so many things, you know, we can be grateful for every day, which kind of becomes so normal to us that we kind of stop acknowledging them, right? Like all these things, it's so normal to us, and we take them for granted that we kind of forget that these things are available to us. And yet there are so many people who would, you know, give anything to have what we often take for granted. But it also doesn't mean that, you know, just because we have some things that others don't have, we have to kind of be happy with what we have and settle for that. No, that's not what I'm saying. It's just that we should still be grateful for what we have, but you don't have to still settle for what we have, you know. You can still desire. Um, so most of us kind of, again, tend to put off gratitude or being thankful um, until we get our desires. Like, yeah, I will be happy or I'll be grateful when I get the money or when I get the job or when my manifestation kind of appears. But the law doesn't kind of work like that. You have to occupy that state first. So you have to be kind of thankful for having your desire now before it can actually show up in the world or in your 3D. So gratitude is kind of a state that we embody now. And in fact, gratitude naturally implies possession, you know. So when do you actually say thank you, or like when do you actually say, you know, you're grateful for something? You'd say that when, you know, when when you get something, when you receive a gift or somebody does something for you and you're like, okay, I'm so glad that happened, or I'm so glad that, you know, you were here or you did that for me or something like that. So most of the time you're being grateful because something good happened to you. So gratitude, yeah, gratitude naturally shifts you into a state um, of having, or, you know, having something instead of a state of lack. And yeah, and this is one of the techniques that Neville also teaches. I think there's it it's if you know that there's one technique called "Isn't it wonderful?" It's not really a technique; it's just another affirmation, which is, I think, similar to saying thank you. You know, like when you say "Isn't it wonderful?" it implies, you know, things are going great. Like in your life, things are wonderful. And when you repeat, like, "Isn't it wonderful?" you're implying, you know, your life is wonderful. And the same thing with thank you. When you when you say thank you, it implies, you know, you've received something or you're thankful for something. It implies that you have something that you desired, or something's going in the way that you want it to go. So it naturally shifts you from that state of, yeah, of the awareness of things not going in your favor, you know, state of lack, to a state of things going in your favor, things working out, to a state of abundance and fulfillment. So, how I kind of practice this is, so so for example, like I wake up in the morning and I try to, before I fully get out of my bed, I take like a few minutes to just say thank you, you know, just repeat thank you. And this is quite, I think, useful when you're really kind of um, stuck in like some cycle of anxiousness, or you're really, I can't get the word. Yeah, when you're really frustrated and don't know what to say, or like if you feel like, what technique I should do, if I'm doing things right or not, you can just shift to saying thank you for some time. Like it naturally implies that, it naturally shifts you into that state. So I wake up in the morning and I just take few minutes to just say, I just repeat thank you, and I say things like, yeah, thank you for being able to sleep so well. And I'm so grateful that I woke up. I'm thankful for being, to feeling rejuvenated and refreshed, to be able to wake up, to be able to breathe, and to have a bed to sleep, and just random things, just to get you into that state of being grateful, right from the moment you wake up to start the day off. And then after saying this for like a few minutes, I just kind of shift to my desires, and I just repeat whatever I'm like focusing on at the moment. And and then again, I kind of go back to saying thank you. Like if you feel like repeating an affirmation many times kind of makes you anxious or feel like it doesn't work, you can repeat the affirmation. For example, for like a job, maybe you're repeating like, I got this job, but it doesn't make you feel calm. You can say that, I got the job for like a few times, and then kind of shift to saying just thank you, which implies, and at the back of the mind, you know that you're just saying thank you because you got the job. Or you don't even have to imply that. You can just shift to saying thank you, which, because your awareness knows all your desires, knows all your or what you need. And when you just say thank you, it implies that you have all of that already. So you can just shift to saying thank you. And I do this sometimes when I feel like, yeah, I don't want to focus on like a specific desire, I just shift to saying thank you. So I do this in the morning when before, like after I wake up and before I get up. And then as I go through my day, when I remember, I try to like, yeah, just randomly try to be grateful. So when I'm going to work or something, yeah, I just remember, okay, I'm so glad I'm able to walk and just enjoy this weather, for having this job, and just random things. So when I'm eating, I'm like, I'm thankful for being able to eat this food. I'm thankful for my body and for my health and things like that. And when I go to my gym, the same thing. So whenever you get the chance, whenever you're sitting somewhere doing something, and whenever you remember, just take a minute or something to just be thankful for some random stuff, because it naturally kind of shifts you focus from, yeah, a state of lack to a state of having and state of abundance. So that's one way I kind of practice gratitude. But I also want to discuss or like tell you guys some other stuff which I do. You guys don't have to do this, but yeah, I kind of feel like when I started practicing forgiveness along with gratitude, like how I'm going to explain to you, it kind of really shifted my state of mind pretty quickly. And it helped me to kind of stay focused on my desires better without being anxious and without questioning or without having fears and worry and doubts, which most of us go through when we start manifesting and start doing all these techniques. And yeah, so when I kind of practiced forgiveness and gratitude along with all the other pillars, which we'll cover in the next videos, yeah, it helps quite a lot to stay grounded, and focus better on your desires, or maybe take your focus off your desires. Anyway, so what I do is, when I meditate. So this is only okay. I do this also randomly, but Mostly when I meditate, I take some time to thank my higher self, to be grateful for my higher self. And so, yeah, so basically, your higher self is always there to guide you, and he's always saying yes to you. Your higher self is the power within you, and it's not separate from you. We are one, but it's our true self, and that true self is the one. Um, he's there to serve us. He's that power that's there for us to use. And how we use it is through our imagination, through our thoughts, through changing our state of consciousness or awareness. And he he just reflects what we imagine, think into a 3D. So he's always there. He's a higher self, but he's a true self, but he's not separate from us. And he's always saying yes to us. So that's how the law basically works. This power is always the law is always saying yes to us, and that will be like that was an article I wrote, and I will make a video about this later. But basically, everything we imagine or what we put our focus onto, which we put our awareness to, that's always, yeah, our awareness is always, or this power is always saying yes to that. So yeah, when I meditate, I'm like, yeah, I'm so grateful that you're always saying yes to me because he is always saying yes to us. And I say things like, thank you for guiding me, thank you for giving me clarity, and thank you for fulfilling my desires, and things like that. And this kind of helps also to put you in a state where, the law is always helping you, and you're just acknowledging that you're saying thank you to your higher self, basically to yourself. And it helps you also to kind of remind yourself that, the law is not against you. There's nobody out there deciding if you're worthy of your desire, if you can get your desire or not. It's all you. And this power, this higher self is always saying yes to whatever you're putting your awareness to, putting your focus to. So just be generally thankful. Just acknowledge that this power is always working in your favor. It's always working for you, for the good and the bad, the whatever you put your awareness to. And he's always saying yes to that. He or she. Yeah. So yeah, just be in general, meditate and just, yeah, be grateful to your higher self. Just say thank you. And then I also kind of, I mentioned this a little bit in the last video about forgiveness, that I try to bring the different versions of my past and future self, and I kind of bring them into my awareness, and I forgive my past self and I thank my future self. So I do this so this is, I do this all in like the same session. It's not like separate sessions or something. So you can do this, you can combine this, and so basically so I bring my past self, past versions of myself. For example, I bring the version of myself who was like a small kid, and yeah, I do the forgiveness practice. I kind of, if there's something that's bothering me, I forgive my past self for that, and then I also thank him. I'm grateful that he kind of went through all that. My the small child, or like the version of myself at that point in the past, he kind of survived all that. He was strong, and I'm just saying thank you for being strong. Thank you for surviving or going through all that. Thank you for persisting, and thank you for continuing to move forward even when things were difficult. Just yeah, because without that past version of yourself, you won't be here right now. So yeah, even maybe you did something wrong, but it doesn't matter because you're a better person now. And if you're not, it's still okay. You can still be a better person, and you can still be grateful because without that past version of yourself, the current version of you won't exist. So instead of looking at, at our past and judging ourselves, um, like, we are very quick to criticize ourselves and judge ourselves and criticize ourselves for the things we did wrong, our failures, and the things we didn't do, the things we could have done differently. So instead of judging ourselves and criticizing ourselves, our past selves, for all the stuff, just thank them for doing the best, doing our best. Thank them for sticking through that tough times, getting through that, being strong and powerful and surviving basically. And yeah, so just bring into your awareness your past self and just thank them. And the same you can do for your future self. So once I bring my past self and I do the forgiveness practice and then the gratitude, um, I bring in my future self. So for my future self, I don't have to kind of forgive him because I kind of picture him to be the best version of myself, the version of myself that has everything that I desire, that's already fulfilled, that's already at peace with myself, the version of me who feels safe and secure, who has all the things I desire. So I really don't need to be, I don't need to forgive him. So, but I can still say thank you to him for being the best version of myself. Um, yeah. So bring into your awareness your future self and say thank you to them as well. Just thank them for showing you what's possible. Because if you can imagine something, that means it exists. That reality is possible, and you just have to start being aware of that and be that person. So, and what I do is I kind of bring this identity. I mentioned the same in the last video, and then kind of, yeah, I thank him, and then I kind of integrate with that version. I just imagine like hugging him, and then this version just kind of melting into me, flowing into me, whatever. So just be creative. Yeah, just accept him into you, and because that future self is not separate from you. He is you, and yeah, that is you. So yeah, this is what I kind of do, and I think yeah, practicing gratitude on a regular basis kind of instantly puts you into a state of abundance and having, instead of a state of lack. Instead of you focusing on the things you don't have in your life and the things that are that are not right, or the things that are going wrong, you can, when you say thank you and when you start being grateful for the small things and even for the things you desire, just say thank you, and it'll immediately kind of put you back into the state of having. So do this also for things that you already possess, all the things you have, and also the things you desire. When you say thank you, when you bring your desire into your awareness and say thank you, because the moment you think of your desire, that's a imaginal act, and that's a creative act. The things you say, that's a creative act. So when you're imagining something, when you're imagining something bad, that's still a creative act. And that will be eventually, if you keep occupying that state, bringing that into your awareness, it'll be reflected in your 3D, in your outside world. And the same, when you bring into your awareness, when you say thank you for the desires, you're bringing into your awareness that state of having that desire, you're saying thank you. I'm thankful that I have this. Because the moment you think about something, the law, this power, the higher self is saying, yes, it's yours. Um, so that's yeah. So be thankful, and if you're feeling so overwhelmed in your day-to-day life, and you don't have the strength to focus on any desire, or you're just getting through your day and you don't have the time to do the sats and affirmation, just randomly say thank you. Just repeat thank you to yourself when you go to sleep, when you wake up, when you have like a few minutes during the day. Just say thank you, and you don't have to even say thank you for being able to walk and stuff. Just say thank you. Just keep repeating that till you feel a bit better, and then eventually you'll start noticing that your state of mind shifts. And yeah, so I would like to ask you guys to kind of practice the being grateful, practice the forgiveness part, and I would really like to hear, if you guys are practicing this, how it has affected you, how it's changed your lives, if it did. And yeah, I would really love to hear that. Um, yeah, so this video I think is quite shorter than the last one. Yeah, so I'm gonna keep it short. So if you like my videos and the content I'm putting out, yeah, please feel free to like and subscribe. Um, yes, and I will see you guys in the next one. So until next time, stay connected to your true self.